I know it's not very popular to say, but to a large extent, a lot of people are getting more hours now in power in country, if we are being realistic.
We've done it in banking, we've done it in telecommunications, but we are yet to do it in power. What exactly? These are some of the money questions we have for the Nigerian power sector, and I will be answering that question. Mr. Olufemi Bakare, the chairman of LCCI power sector, who also doubles as the group CEO of Fenchurch Group Holdings, will be answering that question and more. And we're here live at the LCCI Power Sector Conference convened by the LCCI. I'm David Ijashio. This is the Energy Time Podcast. So Mr. Olufemi Bakare, to have you, sir. So I would like to start by, tell us what is the state of Nigeria's power sector. The Nigerian banking sector, is doing really well. We also have the telecommunication sector, who is raking in trillions of naira. I mean, they are dominating their space, they are doing very well. But the power sector still seems to be struggling. What is the state of power sector in Nigeria?
Well, the power sector group, or the power sector in Nigeria, is seeing a lot of changes, right? And these changes, will only make things better. And some of the fundamental changes in the sector, for example, the decentralization, right, initiated by the government, where states are now allowed to generate their power, distribute, and basically have the power to regulate, power in their space. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is also this tariff increase that we've seen, right? So these two things have really, made a big impact in the power sector. And we would now start to see the benefits, more benefits, start to ride on them. For example, look, I know it's not very popular to say, but to a large extent, a lot of people are getting more hours now in power in country, if we are being realistic, right? However, that might be in the commercial, industrial area, right? So we still need to do a lot more, because everybody should have access to power. Even people in the rural areas, should have access to power. REA are doing a lot in that side also, but the power sector is seeing a lot of change. And we can't have economic growth as a nation, as a country, without power. So the government is focused, on doing that, right? And like I said earlier on, we've seen increased power, for people, right? But is there room for improvement? Yes. Is there more that is required? Definitely. So we're going to see a lot more power come into the sector, into the space, in the next coming year.
You've organized this power sector conference that brought in different players in the industry. But I want to ask, why did you decide to do that? And then you also had a theme, that infrastructure optimization and challenges in the power sector. But we'll get to that. But I just want to know why you established, or why you organized this conference.
It's simple, right? I am a power sector player. Fenchurch Group has different subsidiaries. Fenchurch Power is one of those subsidiaries, right? The political class will do what political class need to do. But on the private sector side, we in the power space, right, need to also interface, with government to let them know what it is that we want and what is required, right? And the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, represents the commercial players in Lagos State. And Lagos State is the economic heartbeat of Nigeria. So you can understand that the power sector group of the Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry really is the body that represents the key people that are required for industrial growth in the power space for Nigeria, right? So we put together this conference to bring together all the people that are active today, now at present, in the power state, and let us have a conversation, right? And when I said all the people, I'm talking people that own generating assets, like Fenchurch, like Electron, right? People that are financiers, like United Capital, Stanbic Infrastructure Fund, right? Mrs. Wala Kandoti, who had the Eco Disco, she was here. Dr. Fuad Animashaw, right? Lagos State Electricity Regulatory Commission, he was here, right? So this is bringing together everyone, and let's have a constructive conversation, right, on what it is that is required and what can we do, and what is even being done. Because when you have events like this, is when people learn and understanding the things that are happening in the sector.
So I want to pick you up from the theme now, which said infrastructure optimization and challenges in the power sector. So is there an infrastructure deficit in Nigeria's power sector? And I know that infrastructure is not just, it goes beyond the assets, goes beyond the materials. It also affects funding, it also affects financing. So is there a deficit of infrastructure in Nigeria's power sector?
Well, I mean, that's what I'll say. 100% correct. There is. There's deficits on the transmission side. We have a lot of stranded power. For example, NDPHC, they have a lot of power that they cannot evacuate because of the transmission infrastructure deficit. Or even on the distribution side, right? There still needs to be a lot of reinforcement and a lot of work done. So, is there a deficit? Yes. The question is what are we doing to address that, right? Now, with all these things, nothing can be done without capital, right? And nothing can be done without the right kind of capital. You can't take short-term money, for long-term infrastructure, right? And also, capital goes to where it's best, then gets returns, right? So, and at the end of the day, power is also a commodity. There's a certain amount that it costs to generate power, to distribute the power, right? So this tariff change that we've seen, it has gone a long way in addressing, some of those gaps, right? Because when investors put money in, they need to know that money is going to come out, right? So that has helped. Now, also regulation has played a huge part. What some people don't realize always is the fact that to do a transmission line, you will traverse stakes, terrains, all sorts, right? There are lots of issues that are tied to all these things. Land issues, right-of-way issues, different things, right? And all that takes time and also funding, right? So the new law about decentralizers, where states can now generate, right, within the state, it helps. Because now, where before you have the discos look at company like Fenchurch Power as the enemy coming to pick their clients, now the conversation has changed. It's now how do we work together in a collaborative manner, right? And I can tell you for free, Keja Electric, right? They're doing a fantastic job on that level where they are speaking to power providers like us, like, look, how can we work together? How can you have that demand embedded within our network, to increase power capacity and distribution? So these are the sort of things that are happening, right? But these things, right, are only happening as a result of policy change, and tariff change.
For us Nigerians, it is still a mirage that we can have 24 hours power supply. So what is Fenchurch doing? What has Fenchurch done, or what will Fenchurch do to contribute to the reality of this? I mean, just one day we want to say, yes, we have power for 24 hours, 7 days, non-stop.
Well, so that's a good one. And is it a mirage? Is it something that will happen? Let me tell you, for example, I was having a conversation with my younger brother many years ago, and I was telling him how in Nigeria, when I was growing up, TV days used to start till 4 o'clock, and he couldn't believe it. It was like there was no TV. I was like, yeah, it was like 4 o'clock then TV comes on, right? But now we've got 24 hours round the clock television, right? And it's the same thing. At one time, Nitel was an issue. What was the population? But what was the population of people that had landlines? But now, telephony is everywhere, right? So it's the same thing with power. We are going to get there, and we're going to get there faster and sooner than we think, right? With 24 hours power. So take, for example, what's Fenchurch doing in that space? Fenchurch generates power using clean energy, which is gas. Where there's no pipeline, we use compressed natural gas, right? We also build our own distribution network, right? Where we connect multiple load centers. So what we do is we totally take our clients off the grid and we provide 24 hours power to our clients. So that's what we're doing. So take, for example, Ekiti State, right? We have a power plant in Ekiti State, but we also built an 11 kilometers underground distribution network, complete with RMUs, transformers, to power loads of load centers. And I can tell you, the hospital, the university teaching hospital in Ado-Ekiti is one of the places with power.
Wow.
Right? And they're getting 24 hours power. Right? And if Ekiti State with their size can do it, what are we talking about? Right? So more states can do it. Now the conversation has then now moved, like I said earlier on, from willing buyer, willing seller, where it's large industrial clients that can afford it, to where we now work together with the disco on an embedded basis to provide power for the wider populace. Right? Now we have an issue of tariff. And I always say in this business, about 60% of the conversation is a financing conversation. Because the lower I can get my cost, it means the cheaper and lower the tariff. Now, the government will set a tariff at, for example, is it 206 or something about, per kilowatt hour for band A, or 209, thereabouts. If I can generate and sell power to a disco for, let's say, 170, 180, they put their own, what's it called, markup formula, and we can still give to the clients allowed called, it's not bad, right? But there is a real cost in generating power. It's a commodity like any other fit, right? And people also need to be efficient in how they use power. That is why if you travel to the abroad, for example, right? Before you move in someone's house to another place, they are switching off.
Exactly.
They are switching off lights. That's what I'm saying. They are switching off everything, right? It's because there's a cost attached to it. Over time, it's been subsidized, and over time, we've been used to, not being also efficient in how we use energy. So the issues are two-pronged. There's the government side that's being fit, but even us as a people need to be efficient in how we use power. That's one. Then two, the government also, and I mean the state government now, in terms of town planning, also have a role to play. Because take, for example, you have a place like Lekki Phase 1. Huge area, designated residential. Some parts commercial, but residential. Now, a street that is residential, that has a certain transformer at the beginning, and was sized because those plots are located on a residential basis, you now have them, you have a nightclub, you have a hotel, you have churches, you have supermarkets, you have different businesses on that same street.
Power consumption varies.
Different. Town planning and zoning properly also helps.
That's
Right? So we also as citizens have a role that we have to play. A building that's designated for residential is now a building that is used on a commercial basis. That is definitely going to impact
power consumption.
Everyone around. It's going to impact even the infrastructure, especially when the infrastructure has not been upgraded to now deal with the real realities of that neighborhood.
So I mean, we keep talking about the issues in Nigerian power sector. We won't exhaust it to talk about, but just so that we can wrap up this conversation now, and obviously we're going to have more elaborate one. I want to ask that what is Fenchurch going to be doing the next 3, 4, 5 years to make sure that we no longer have this power grid failure, or we have some people going off grid and not people can have reliable power. People can, have that rest of mind or peace of mind that they can start a venture or a program and not have to worry about power at all. I can also maybe just add some figures of maybe megawatts you've generated before, the capacity you've handled before?
I mean, that's the goal, right? And that's why we're in business. So on the side of Fenchurch now, for example, we're about to take over a franchise area that has about almost 10,000 clients, right? So you can imagine there will be collection efficiencies, and collection efficiencies, will also lead to us being able to now invest more in that franchise area to ensure that there's now more power, less losses, right? That's one. We're also expanding. We have a 20 megawatt project, that we're currently doing in Lagos, right? That's using pipe gas, also. That's one project that we're doing, and we're building about 19 kilometers of distribution network to be able to connect people, give people access to power, right? So that's there, right? So we have different projects that we're working on, right? That in our way we're contributing to the development narrative in the Nigerian power space. Even sitting here today, right, having this conference is part of that, right? It's bringing, like I said, all the stakeholders together, doing some level of advocacy, for us to chart the way forward, right? In terms of how many megawatts have we done to date? Well, I can say confidently that we've handled just short of about 30 megawatts, right? But by this time next year, we would have more than doubled that, right? And we keep building out, the distribution network also, and increasing on our capacity. Now, also, renewables is something that is big.
Yes.
Right? And we can't have a conversation without having also a renewables piece, right? And renewables is something that is big, is something that the REA is very big on, and Fenchurch is also working, with the REA, on some renewable projects. So we are in this, as I say, we are in here, to make a difference.
What are some of the low-hanging fruits that states wants to go about this decentralization efforts? What are just 3 low-hanging fruits that they can pluck to start their own venture as well? State that have not even done anything at all.
Well, look, a state that hasn't done anything at all, they don't need to look far. They should look to Lagos State. They should look to Ekiti State, right? They should look to Oyo State, states that have done it, right? First thing I'd say, get the regulation in place. That is key. Get the regulation in place. Second thing is give the right incentives to private sector participants. Make right of way something that is given. Tax benefits, right? That's what you do to attract, right? And then on the level, like what Ekiti State, backstop, right? With some level of security, some guaranteed offtake.
Yes.
Right? So backstop, some level of offtake, right? For example, in Ekiti State, they were doing roughly about 750, right? Which was less than 1 megawatt, right? But today, at their peak load, they are slightly exceeding 2 megawatts.
Wow, that's a lot of development.
And they've expanded the distribution network we built to connect more places, right? Which means their offtake will increase. Now we are also then having conversation with the disco around it to say, look, listen, we have some excess capacity, right? Especially at night, that we can sell, right? So you can see how the benefit starts to cascade down for everyone. So a state that hasn't done anything, right? This is what they need to do, right? Companies like Fenchurch are open for business. They can have a conversation with us. This is why we're here.
You say that. All right. Thank you very much. So you've heard from the boss himself. Power issues will soon be a thing of the past. And if you sit doubting it, you connect to Fenchurch Group and they will prove your doubt. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here, for your contributions. We're very grateful. And of course, we'll continue this conversation. Thank you.